Sorry. And welcome to Great Potatoes, production of Moose Murders by Arthur Bicknell. My name is Miles Purinton, and I'm the director of sorts of this event. Before we begin, I should say this is kind of a strange performance, so I'll explain a little about the show. As many of you know, the actors have not had a single rehearsal for the show. More than that, they have never read the script and have no idea what's going to happen tonight. Luckily, they will receive scripts for the performance, these lovely scripts here, but even then we haven't made it easy for them, because the scripts are what are called cue scripts. They only have the lines and blocking that they speak and do, and then one line of cue, meaning that each actor receives only the bare minimum of what is necessary. When they have to speak. So they'll often have to be reacting to something they've just heard because their skills as actors. Now, the idea behind the type of script comes from a rich tradition in theater. Actors used to not have rehearsal at all. Instead, they would simply receive their parts, which were pieces of paper which had, much like the actor scripts tonight, just their lines and a few words of cue. The actors would memorize these on their own and then piece everything together while they performed. This was done because it was difficult to make full copies of the play, and it was easier to give actors only what was necessary. Interestingly, actors would receive their parts in scroll form, so rolled up, and the bigger the roll, the more paper had to be used. Therefore, the bigger the part. That's why we still say to actors, how big is your role in the play? It comes from that. That is the last part of tonight that'll be educational. So what we've done is taken this technique from theatrical production, used in Shakespearean times for great dramas that have lasted through the ages, and apply it to a play that is, shall we say, less than Shakespearean. Let me give you a bit of background on Moose Murders. In 1983, Moose Murders, a mystery farce by Arthur Bicknell, came to Broadway and immediately left. It ran a total of 1 performance, not counting previews, and is still considered today by those in the theater world as the standard for bad theater. While there have been other shows that have closed soon after their opening night, Moose are the most infamous. It was so bad that the lead actress, Eve Arden, who would have been making her first in 40 years, critic John of New York Magazine began his review by saying, "Selected patrons cannot even imagine what horrors reviews are exposed to night after nightmarish night." The most outspoken critic of Moose Murders is former New York Times critic Frank Rich. In his review, he said, "From now on, there will always be 2 groups of theater goers in this world. Those who have seen Moose Murders and those who have not. Those of us who have witnessed the play that opened at the Eugene O'Neill Theater last night will undoubtedly hold periodic reunions in the noble tradition of survivors of the Titanic. Tears and booze will flow in equal measure. There will be a prize awarded to the bearer of the most outstanding antlers. As for those theater goers who miss Moose Murders, well, they just don't rate. A visit to Moose Murders is what will separate the connoisseurs of Broadway disaster from mere dilettantes for many moons to come. The worst play I've ever seen." Which later expanded on his sentiment, saying that the worst single moment of theater he had ever seen was watching the mummified Sidney rise from his wheelchair to kick an intruder unaccountably dressed in a moose costume in the Broadway. I have read the play, and I can assure you that it lives up to its reputation. At its best, it is simply a horrific and poorly written failure of a farce. At its worst, it is flat out insulting to Native Americans, the disabled, gypsies, and honestly, anyone who has ever attended a piece of theater before. My hope tonight is that by giving it the amount of preparation that it deserves, we will be able to